And there we have it, Jets fans. We finally have some breaking news. The Jets have parted ways with several assistant coaches under Aaron Glenn's first year. They will not make it back for a second year. We break that all down and much more. It's the Dylan Terraman Football Show. Live emergency. It starts now.
Be a winner. Not only have to understand how to win, but to understand how to consistently win.
What is going on, Jets fans? It's your boy DT back. Breaking news as it just happens up to the minute. As of 45 minutes ago, Aaron Wilson, who covers the NFL in Houston, is reporting that the Jets are moving on from several assistant coaches, including everybody's favorite Charles London, the quarterback coach, Eric Washington, the defensive lines coach, Roosevelt Washington, the assistant defensive line coach, Roosevelt Williams, a defensive assistant, Scott Turner, the passing game coordinator, Aaron Curry, the linebackers coach, and Alonzo Escalante, another defensive assistant. Also hearing that they will reassign at least one other offensive coach who was retained by Aaron Glenn. So a lot of big news coming out of this. Obviously, the most important one, everybody wanted this one to happen, so we can all, take a sigh of relief that Charles London is no longer the quarterback's coach. It never made sense for him to be a quarterback's coach on a team that really, quite frankly, didn't have a quarterback anyway, but it just, the fit never made sense, especially if you have Tanner Engstrand as your offensive coordinator. Eric Washington was supposedly a Steve Wilks hire. So obviously if Steve Wilks is going, Eric Washington is going. There was a lot of internal complaints about Eric Washington that was reported by Connor Hughes. So that was definitely one that I saw coming. Roosevelt Williams and Alonzo Escalante are both defensive assistants. So a lot of turnover on the defensive side of the ball, including Aaron Curry as well, linebackers coach. The linebackers played like absolute dog shit under Aaron Curry and Aaron Glenn in year one. And perhaps they're more talented with a new linebackers coach. Hopefully Jamie Sherwood can turn it around. Quincy Williams probably not long for the team anymore, but Aaron Curry is out. And then whoever gets reassigned on offense, I think that's going to be an interesting one. I'm not going to try to speculate and say who I think that coach would be. I think I would just say I'd be surprised if like Tanner Engstrand wasn't offensive coordinator and got reassigned to maybe like runner pass game coordinator. So that would be, I guess, like the only guess I can make about what the reassignment is, but I don't really want to speculate on that too much. But Scott Turner, the senior assistant / pass game coordinator, is out. So that's why I say that about Engstrand. But also, I would be really shocked if we got a new OC and replace Engstrand. So maybe they're going to get a new pass game coordinator, possibly a run game coordinator. I don't think they're going to go the co-OC route. So sound off in the comments what you guys think specifically about the reassignment, because I think that's a cool one for discussion. But we have a lot of turnover to discuss, mainly on the defensive side of the ball. The only holdovers are the defensive backs coaches, Chris Harris, which we felt like we knew he was going to get retained, probably not in the DC role. I don't think he should be in play for DC after all of this turnover. Dre Bly, the assistant defensive backs coach, and then Nathaniel Willingham, another assistant DBs coach. So four coaches, assistant defensive line coach Cameron Davis, according to my sheet, so 4 defensive coaches are retained. They're looking at a minimum of 4 openings, including defensive coordinator, on just that side of the ball. And then they obviously just got rid of Scott Turner and Charles London. So you have a minimum of 2 openings on the offensive side of the ball. So 6 new coaches, including 1 major coordinator change on the defensive side of the ball. So it is kind of nuts. As Tank for Ties says, unbelievable. We can fire 60% of the staff and still justify keeping the head coach. Well, The only reason that I think you can justify it is because it's year 1 to year 2, not giving him a pass, because you guys pretty much know how I feel about AG at this point. But the only reason you can say this is even worth taking a shot on, because if this is going to be his last year, just let him bring in new coaches anyway, because those coaches aren't going to be here in 27 if he's not. So if this was year 3 to 4 of Aaron Glenn's regime and he's turning over 60% of his staff, that's probably more of a red flag to me. So that would be the only pushback. But again, I'm not trying to say that this is a good thing at all. It's obviously a bad thing when you need to fire 6 assistant coaches and 1 coordinator after your first year. Obviously, he got 1 coordinator hire right in Banjo, and we'll see what the fate of Tanner Engstrand is. Maybe I hate to speculate about the reassignment, but I really feel like that could be it. And maybe Aaron Wilson would have alluded to it more in his tweet if he knew, but I think it's pretty crazy that somebody's going to get reassigned on the offensive side of the ball. We have a running backs coach in Nick McKissick, Luke, who doesn't really have a resume that I'm knowledge of. Sean Jefferson, we obviously know, was here. He left, went to Carolina, and came back. So they obviously liked him in a previous regime. And then Jeff Blasco, Steve Hyden, the tight ends and offensive line coaches, they were already told that they were going to be back, or we were at least told by Zach Rosenblatt and Connor Hughes on One Jets Drive that those 3 assistant coaches specifically would be back in Jefferson, Blasco, and Hyden. So we'll see. I think the quarterback coach is almost equally as important as the defensive coordinator hire, in my opinion, because I don't know what the plan is at quarterback. I know they had a plan if they had Dante Moore, and we'll get into that in a video down the road, but it's going to be really interesting. Let's see what the comments say. Let's see what you guys have to think about this reassignment. Franklin says, DT, he was hired late and not a lot of coaches available last year. So let's see how it goes this year. You're saying AG was hired late and not a lot of coaches were available last year? I mean, I don't think it was late. It was like around this time last year. So I think it was right on par with like when everybody else was getting hired. I don't think it was late in the process. I think Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay were both signed in late January, like the 27th, and then February 7th, Shanahan was hired after he lost the Super Bowl. So I don't think it's late in the process when they hired AG. Rover Bet says the 2027 head coach will be Zach Taylor, Shane Steichen, or Kevin O'Connell. I mean, I can't argue with any of those guys in terms of being from an offensive side of the ball, being, innovators in terms of an X's and O's. I think Shane Steichen has made pretty good work out of everybody that played quarterback for him, except for maybe Anthony Richardson. Zach Taylor, I mean, I like what he does. He had a really tough start to his career in Cincinnati, and then they obviously turned it around once Burrow and Chase and Higgins got all together. But I guess if I had to put those guys in order, I would put O'Connell first, then I'd probably go O'Connell, Shane Steichen, and then Zach Taylor third, in my opinion. Oh, no, Jeremy Bates is not making a comeback. Is he the guy from the woods? Is he the guy that was like mountain manning when the Jets asked him to be the coach? Yeah, London gone. Yep, unfortunately, short-lived here. But we saw Dom C's tweet, I think it was yesterday or the day before, that said the longer Charles London is here, the longer he thought that Geno Smith was going to be the quarterback of the Jets in 2026. And I just could not get down with that. So maybe they saw Dom's tweet and they had to act fast. Stay gold. Hopefully Tanner gets reassigned. We get experienced OC for a change. Yeah, that would be cool. I would be, I wouldn't be mad at it. I don't think Engstrand has done enough to solidify himself as like a top OC type of guy, but maybe they just get a guy. And again, you don't want to call it like a babysitter, but like they tried to do this with Hackett, and I don't think it's to the same degree as Hackett, but maybe it is Engstrand that does ultimately get reassigned. Christopher, it's not going to matter unless they fire Glenn. Well, probably not in the grand scheme of things, but we'll see. He's made some pretty good hires and some pretty bad hires. So it's kind of a mixed bag for him right now. Thoughts on Phillip Rivers interviewing for the Buffalo job? I don't know. I mean, we knew it was going to happen eventually. He was going to get the looks. Sure. Like, if that's what they want to do, I mean, it'll probably work. I think he's a good coach. I just don't know what that means at the NFL level. So we'll see. But Philip Rivers is a good guy. Yeah. Yeah, this is kind of the gist of it. He fires his whole staff, but he stays. It's pretty telling of, obviously, one, the urgency, because he knows that he would be leaving with these assistants if it's not for the fact that he and Woody Johnson have a previous relationship, in my opinion. I think if this was some random Joe Schmo head coach that didn't have ties to Woody and the Jets and everything, I don't think he would have survived this year. So I see 142 of you guys in the room. I appreciate it. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. This is like the first time I've ever done breaking news, but it's 7:45 on a Friday night, and I have work tomorrow, so I literally have nothing else to do. So I'm glad that you all can join me, and I'm glad that there was some breaking news. Firing Charles London is disgusting. He was a future head coach candidate. I know this is probably sarcasm, but I'll lean in. Yeah, man, he's great. His resume was perfect. Geno Smith rebounded under Charles London. Any chance this means the DC hire is coming soon? I would say it depends. If they want Jim Leonard and they're willing to wait it out, maybe allow other teams to hire defensive coordinators, allow the Broncos to go as far as they go in the playoffs. You know, let's hope that they beat the Patriots and move on to the Super Bowl. If they're willing to wait that long to get a Jim Leonard, then maybe it takes that long. But I would say that there's a chance a coach gets hired by the Jets when we're all down in Mobile next week. Some kind of news is going to happen. I thought that like the firings and stuff like that was going to be news when we were there. So I'm glad that it came a little bit earlier, but perhaps a DC hire, is announced during the week of the Senior Bowl. Oh yeah, Rich. Appreciate you tuning in, man. I don't know who this is, but that's not any news that I'm I don't know about this one. So I don't know. I don't even know who this is. Is that like his kid or something? Or I don't know. What a disaster. An idiot in charge now firing, but nobody wants to work for him. That's not true. We don't know who the hires are. So how do you know that nobody wants to work for him? That's kind of we have to see who the hires are, and then we'll figure it out. Some people say no to the job. Some people say no to a lot of jobs. Look at what they're doing in Cleveland right now. They're asking these guys to take like a standardized test to become the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns. I don't care how analytically driven you are. And then they had McDaniel walk away from the job, and they had Jesse Minter walk away from the job. And then McDaniel took a job in LA as the OC, and now Minter's the head coach in Baltimore. So I'm pretty sure Cleveland would have been like, hey, man, you don't have to answer our questions if they really like those guys. I don't make any assumptions that Glenn will be able to attract quality coaches. I just don't know who the coaches are. He's attracted Chris Banjo, and I know it was on the word of Mike Westhoff, so maybe he can listen to somebody and get another good hire. I think Steve Hayden was a good hire. He was like the Charles London if it worked, because he came from an offensive tight ends background. Excuse me. Yeah, tight ends background. Only played coached 1 year offensive line, and then he was the offensive line coach for us, and we had a really good offensive line unit. So everybody's a rising star at One Jets Drive, Rich. Yeah, maybe you think they're all horrible, but I don't feel that way, David. This is the only reason I keep it, so that when Connor asks me to come on the show, I'm the one with the most facial hair, even though I'm twice his freaking age. He'll probably have a full beard before me. I'm not surprised. Oh, it's his younger brother. There we go. Get Jason Glenn on board. Yeah, absolutely. Matthew Smith, I can't wait to see a lot of these edge rushers at the Senior Bowl. I am so excited. Zion Young is just one of them. All right, I see 200 people in the room. I really appreciate everybody for tuning in. If you are just tuning in now, the Jets moved on from several assistant coaches, including Charles London, the quarterback's coach, Eric Washington, the defensive lines coach, Roosevelt Williams, and Alonzo Escalante, two defensive assistants, Scott Turner, the offensive pass game coordinator, Aaron Curry, the linebackers coach, and then they will be supposedly, allegedly reassigning one offensive coach who was retained by Aaron Glenn. So that is the breaking news we are talking about right now. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. On our way to 1,500. Let's see. The Jets should also interview Marvin Lewis, who runs an aggressive gap control defense that's easy to implement, and Jonathan Gannon, who runs a quarters cover 4 style defense for the D coordinator post. Those are probably fair candidates. I'm not sure I love Marvin Lewis. I feel like he's been out of the game for a little bit, so perhaps that's not like the best. I don't know if I'm on board with that one, but maybe Jonathan Gannon was one of the defensive guys that, told the Jets no, respectfully. And I wouldn't blame Jonathan Gannon. He's probably going to get a better job. So if he was one of those guys like the Floreses of the world that, I mean, I'm at least speculating that like the guys that told the Jets no, they're not like some random people that we've never heard of. That's how you get the random people you've never heard of, is because the big guys tell you no. So I would say like Flores probably told him no. Gannon might have told him no. Schwartz might have told him no. All those types of guys. But I agree with the philosophical part of your defense. I don't know if I want a defense that's just easy to implement. I want one that's really like it's hard to explain, but I want it to be like complex but simplified, if that makes sense. I want it to be simplified for the defense but complex for the offense. So a guy like Durante Jones, I feel like would be a good one for that one. Yeah, like Renee. Got to write an essay on why you want to be the Browns head coach. They gave him homework. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, Andrew Berry, he's probably a really smart guy. I won't take anything away from him, but I mean, if that's what we're doing to get the guys in here, I don't know what their candidate pool looks like, but all right, y'all can stop fighting in the chat though. It's not that serious. We can all be happy Charles London's gone. I've never put anybody in timeout on my channel before, so let's not do that in 2026. Maybe bring in Jim Leonard for DC, Joe Brady as OC, Nussmeier offensive assistant, and draft his kid. Then give AG the old Yeller tree. Okay, the last part's funny. I don't know if you would do. You could do the other 3 things. You could bring in Jim Leonard for DC. You could probably outbid him, right? If the going rate is like 4 million for him, 5 million for him, whatever, Woody has the money. Be aggressive. That's what we were told that they were going to be, was like calculated and aggressive. So I feel like if you do that with your coaching staff, that's money out of Woody's pocket. That's not money that comes off the cap. So I'm cool with giving, Leonard whatever, dollar amount he wants. Joe Brady as OC, that's a tough one. He is getting head coach looks, but I don't think he's going to land a head coaching job, just being completely transparent. The jobs that are still up for grabs, the Raiders, the Bills, the Cardinals, the Browns, and the Steelers. So we have 5 out of the 10 openings filled. Harbaugh to the Giants, Minter to the Ravens, Stefanski to the Falcons, Halfley to the Dolphins, and then our guy, Bob Saleh, to the Titans. So, yeah, there's 5 jobs left. I don't think Joe Brady will get one of those, but I would like that. And then Nussmeier is he the quarterback's coach over in New Orleans? He's either the quarterback's coach or he's offensive coordinator in New Orleans. So that's a tough one. You couldn't get him as an offensive assistant, but we'll see. We'll see Garrett up close in person next week. I'm really excited to see him out of all the quarterbacks at the Senior Bowl. Yes, 2009, you saw correctly. Ruben Bain and D'Angelo Pons are not going to the Senior Bowl. They've already withdrawn from the event. Not sure why. Probably just because they're coming off their season less than a week ago and they want to recover and look forward to the NFL draft process. I mean, I don't care. It was really cool that he was going to be there. We'll still see David Bailey, who's going to be at the top of the draft, but I don't think Ruben Bain needs to show anything at an event like the Senior Bowl, right? I feel like those are for guys who are trying to like work their way into the maybe back end of first round, the top 50, top 75 of the draft that were probably fourth round picks. I feel like that's more of what the event is for in terms of the Senior Bowl. Obviously, they want to get as many, top talented players as they can, but this doesn't surprise me with Bain or Pons, really. Pons got, comp to AG, and now he's rethinking his whole football career, I'm sure. No, it does start at the top. I don't know how to pronounce that, but yeah, it does start at the top, and it feels like they are kind of blaming the guys for the record. I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily that they're blaming them for the record, but you just have to see how they pivot, right? If they bring in guys that are like exponentially worse than what we already have, then that's very telling about Aaron Glenn. But the chances that there's another version of Charles London out there that we're ready to find, I don't know. Like, I have a little bit of faith in the process that like it can be better than Charles London the second time around. And if it's not, then we completely nuke the whole thing in 2027. Let's go, Greg. I appreciate you tuning in. All the fire emojis. I hope you're doing well. Hope your family's doing well. Not sure if you're going to be affected by this cold or not where you're staying, but we're supposedly going to get stuff here in the Carolinas. I don't think it's going to be as bad as anticipated. So let's see. Grenade says, I can't find anything that says Bain dropped out. I have it on good authority in our Senior Bowl group chat. It was a thing. I saw the director of the Senior Bowl on McShay's show say that Bain agreed in December and was all for participating. Yeah, that. I'm sure all of those things are true, but he's not going to be there. He's just not going to be there. Maybe he has a small injury from the national championship that he doesn't feel like, doing a whole nother week. Taylor, they didn't fire anybody, man. They're keeping everybody. I should have changed the title. They're retaining everybody. Any information on Shrine Bowl? No, I do not focus in a ton on that event, and that's to my faults during this process. But because I go to the Senior Bowl, I focus so heavily on most of the guys that are going to be there, so I at least have a surface level knowledge of the guys that I'm going to see in person, in case there's the chance that I get to interview them down at Radio Row with Jake and Dom, or if I get to interview them between practices in those half-hour periods. So I try to do more homework on the Senior Bowl guys, but I am gonna start looking into the Shrine Bowl more and more because a lot of good talent is there at the Shrine Bowl for sure. Both good events. It's crazy that these guys go. Like, I know Trevor Sycamore of PFF. I know for 100% he's going to be at Shrine Bowl, and then he flies directly from Shrine Bowl to Senior Bowl. We've talked about that like several times when we were down in Mobile. It's like that's a lot on people to go back-to-back weeks, and then certain media goes to cover the Super Bowl the following week. So it's like everything just goes. And then like 3 weeks after that, it feels like there's something in February, right? It's not the combine. No, the combine's end of March. So maybe that's the only reprieve is like a week after the Super Bowl. I would say, I'm not going to say 0% Bronx finest that they bring in Rex Ryan to run the defense. I'm not going to say it's 0%, but I will say it is probably 0.1%. He's not going to come in here to be anything but the head coach, in my opinion. The Browns, yeah, they might go get like the valedictorian of like Harvard or something to be to be their new head coach. And maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't. I feel like I have not done my duties as a podcaster. I went live so fast I didn't make a thumbnail for the show. I didn't monetize this show. We're slacking. 250 you guys in the room. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. I see a ton of new subscribers, at least 9 since the last time I looked a couple days ago. Not sure if all of them were from today or this stream, but thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. My guy, Daniel Lake, $2 super chat. I really appreciate you. He says, give our guy a like, people. It's free. Absolutely. Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in. Would I sign Mike Evans because he's a UFA? I mean, yes, I would if it's just me personally, but it doesn't fit the timeline. If he's going to leave Tampa Bay, who is in like a fairly easier division in the NFC South, right? They have like a pretty clear path to the playoffs by winning their division, and they're always in it at the end. So if he is going to leave Tampa, I would assume it's going to be to go somewhere not necessarily for money, but for the chance to win a Super Bowl. That's just my guess. I know he's already won a Super Bowl, but that would just be my guess. He is a little bit old, but I personally would do it. I just don't think the Jets will do it. Hey, what's up, Nate? Appreciate you, man. Never heard of Charles London. Was he good? He was actually the greatest. So unfortunate that he's gone, but we move. We're a very resilient fan base. So losing one of our very best is nothing new to us. Wagon Sway, I appreciate you, man. Just subscribe. Nice seeing you, DT. Yes, sir. Thank you so much for subscribing. Glad I can break down some breaking news. I feel like I'm never, in the right opportunity. I'm usually at work when breaking news happens. 263 of you in the room. I'm sure most of you have heard by now. Jets moved on from several assistant coaches, including Charles London, quarterback coach, Eric Washington, defensive line coach, Roosevelt Williams, and Alonzo Escalante, defensive assistants, Aaron Curry, the linebackers coach, Scott Turner, the offensive pass game coordinator, and they are also potentially reassigning at least one offensive coach who was retained by Aaron Glenn. So a lot of new parts to the coaching staff. We have over 30, contracts that are expiring. There's going to be so much new on this team, and that's the only reason I'm excited, because we're starting to get change. I don't always think that change is a positive thing, but when you are this bad as a team, 3 wins, any change at this point feels like it could be a good thing. So that's just the lens I'm looking at it. And we will judge the hires as they come in. We certainly will not be, lenient with the hires. We're not going to look at these guys' resumes like a Charles London and say, "Oh yeah, we can make that work." No, it's got to be at least something. And if it's not a proven guy, it's got to be somebody that like you can really see the tangible evidence of them being a good talent evaluator, a good developmental coach, something like that from their previous spots. Jets love these Friday news dumps. They sure do. They dumped the interviews on us last week, so things are moving. Wagon Sway, I'm not going to say for sure that it has Woody scent all over it, but I do lean that way as well. That would be my opinion on it, is that Woody said, "Hey man, you have to make some really, actual change to this staff and this whole entire thing if you are going to make it back for 2027. Woody's not, I don't think Woody would just let Aaron Glenn walk into those 3 first-round picks in 2027 without proving himself first. But as we know, thinking is overrated. Woody does need to get it right, Rich. 100% agree. Daniel, yeah, we'll see. They might not get any big names, but the big name wow factor is not that important, right? If you get a guy in my opinion, I was pretty cool with Matt Arujo, the guy who just got signed to do cornerback work for the Chargers. I mean, I was cool with it because he or Jacksonville, excuse me, under Anthony Campanelli, his former coaching staff buddy in Miami. But I was pretty cool with him because he charted all of Vic Fangio's plays. So if you're learning all of Vic Fangio's plays, all his calls, all his tendencies, what works, what doesn't, against what offenses, I don't think it necessarily has to be a big name that like comes with a lot of wow factor. Like Wink Martindale is a big name. Doesn't mean anything, right? Like that's probably one of the worst hires I think he can make of the 8 that he interviewed with. I see a little bit of basketball talk. I'm not a basketball head, but if the Knicks get Anthony Davis, I'm sure the Bing Bongs will be all over once again. Taylor, these feel like wholesale changes, not just Salah firing the OC. The Lions had a similar position coach shuffle before they turned it around. Yeah, I hate making the comp to the Detroit Lions because I feel like after a while it gets really stale, and like it was cool to use it at first because he was a Dan Campbell guy. But yeah, I feel like the first part of this is correct. It's not like Mike LaFleur getting absolutely scapegoated for Zach Wilson's horrendous play and Salah being forced to fire him when he had no intention of firing Mike LaFleur. I can, with no inside knowledge, I feel like there was any world where Rob Saleh was going to be like, you know what, dude, I can't have you here anymore. We're going to fire you and then go hire Nate Hackett and show our whole ass for Aaron Rodgers. Like, I don't think that was the world that Saleh wanted to live in. I feel like that was very Woody push. So, yeah, we'll see. If they turn it around, then none of these hires, we'll look back on this day very fondly as the day Charles London went away. Light grenade. I'm not gonna touch that one about Brick, but yeah, I think we're on to something. Yeah, so I guess the negative of Jim Leonard is a lot of teams probably want him, right? I think the Cowboys were one of the teams that interviewed with him, but they hired Christian Parker, so that's a really good thing. I don't know if the Packers officially even requested to interview Jim Leonard. I know that they haven't done it yet, so they would have to wait until after Denver's out of the playoffs completely. Whereas if Denver advances in this week's game against the Patriots, the Jets can interview Leonard a second time because they did it previous to his first playoff game. So that would be the positive spin on Jim Leonard for me, is that there are other vacancies filling up that Jim was either a candidate for or that could have potentially been a candidate for. But the negative side is, do they want to wait this long into the process? Again, I can spin that in a positive. If they wait this whole time to get Jim Leonard, like say Denver goes all the way to the Super Bowl and Jim doesn't want to commit to a team until after their season is over, the Jets have the luxury of waiting because I feel like you can still turn around and get like an Ephraim Banda and maybe not a Durante Jones, but potentially a Durante Jones if you still don't get a Jim Leonard. So there's a positive and a negative spin to it, but I actually would say it's not a no that we're not getting Jim Leonard. Like absolutely not. Like there's probably a small world where we get Jim Leonard. Hey, we spun the wheel on Jake's show last night and it landed on Jim Leonard. So all what he has to do is pick a name out of a hat like we literally did there and he could get Jim Leonard. It's just that simple. Carson Palmer to coach quarterbacks. That'd be cool. Doesn't Jordan Palmer do quarterback work, right? So they come from a cool like coaching, I guess, family, I guess, the two of them. Jordan Palmer, I remember if I'm not mistaken, he's the one that like corrected Josh Allen's mechanics from year 1 to year 2, and I'm not sure how like much that helped. But I remember like seeing like the analytics, like the path of Josh Allen's shoulder motion on throws. So yeah, I mean, I'm cool with bringing in any former quarterback to be our quarterback's coach. There's a couple of them in the NFL now. Let's see. JT Barrett. I know he wasn't really a successful NFL quarterback, but he was a quarterback. He's the Bears quarterbacks coach. You have Scott Tolzien in New Orleans. You have Davis Webb in Denver, Josh McCown with the Vikings, Brunell with Detroit, Sean Mannion with the Packers. I feel like I'm missing one more, but there's at least 5 former quarterbacks who are occupying a quarterback coach role now. So I could totally see it. If that is the case, I would I would be pretty mad. If Woody guaranteed him 3 seasons, I'd be pretty mad. We got to see what year 2 looks like before we can even entertain a year 3, in my opinion. So that's why I say that. They are telling the hires that we get. If they're bad hires, then we know what AG is as a coach or as a networker in the league. 280 plus of you guys in the room. I appreciate it. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. We are now 17 away from 1500. Trying to hit that number tonight if we can on the live stream. I certainly appreciate it. Super chats are always welcome. I'm never really going to push for them, but I do appreciate them. Help me quit my day job, which I have to attend tomorrow. Freedom House. I think the Packers are holding out for Leonard because there's tough competition. I'm going to look up if the Packers interviewed Jim Leonard. I don't think they did. And if they didn't, then they're behind the 8 ball. Yeah. So Rob Domofsky, who covers the Packers, says that they have to wait until the Broncos are eliminated. He also reports that he says, quote, I don't think anything happens until he can talk to Jim Leonard. I think Jim is high on this list. So I don't know if there's even official word that they've requested to interview him, but they cannot talk to him until Denver is out of the playoffs. So perhaps you're right, and they are holding out to wait to see what he has to say. But the Jets will have met with him twice at that point. And if Jim Leonard is holding out to talk to the Packers and the Jets want to go elsewhere in that time and let go of Jim Leonard, I'd be very disappointed. I feel like they got to do whatever they can after that second interview to make sure he's the guy. I feel like Knicks fans love everything and then they hate everything at the exact same time. Maybe I'm completely wrong. I don't watch a lick of basketball. I will tell you that. If I watch the conference finals and the finals, then, that's probably the most basketball I've watched in several years. I don't know. I can't get with it. Tank for ties, the lowest this franchise has been in a long time. I mean, maybe it's hard to say definitively. Honestly, I think 2020 was a way worse season because we started 0-13. Like, it was literally like abysmal watching those games. We wasted a quarterback, even though it took him 6, other stops to make it work, and going through the Shanahan and McConnell school of rehab for quarterbacks. And Sam Darnold came out the other end in a conference championship game for the Seattle Seahawks. So I feel like 2020 was still worse. And we didn't have the picks to really do anything with it. We had the number 2 pick in Zach Wilson. And we ended up getting a lot of good things. Actually, we had the 2 picks because we got AVT that year, right? And then we got Elijah Vera Tucker with that one, and then we got Elijah Moore, right? That was all the same draft class. I'm not mushing them all together, am I? But when it's in the conversation, tank for tie, it's bad. So I'm with you. I think, well, according to Zach Rosenblatt, the coordinator hire is going to have a lot of say in the staff. So maybe that is AG saying, hey, man, you can hire, 2 or 3 of your own guys, however many guys you need, bring them on, and we'll evaluate our staff and see what we can do as far as letting more guys go to accommodate that. So that's part of it with Jim Leonard specifically. Now, Wink, I wouldn't let Wink do that. I would, collaborate with him and say, hey, what coaches do you want? What coaches do you need? And let's see if we can work together. But Jim Leonard, I feel like, I would let him hire a staff. Oh, I hope not. I hope they don't employ the 33rd team. I don't want Dan Orlovsky anywhere near the Jets, like, to be honest. Unless they want them all to run out of the back of the end zone away from Jared Allen. Oh, you said maybe we can go 0-17. Yeah. That'd be the case to tank for whoever the quarterback is next year. I should have read the second half of the comment. What up, baby? I see you in the chat. You weirdo. Still trying to figure out who you are. Is it crazy that I like Bailey at 2, but I understand Bain because he can play inside and elite at run? No, I mean, I don't think I'm not through all the edge rushers yet. I started with David Bailey, so I did the full study. I have 20 clips pulled of David Bailey. So I will get to the film dive probably after Senior Bowl. I'll start doing the side-by-side comparisons of like Bailey and Reese and then Bain and Falk and, work my way up the ladder that way. But no, you're not crazy for liking Bailey at 2. I'm really excited to see him next week. I think he's going to show out at least on Tuesday at practice. I don't know if he'll do the full week. Usually some of the top-notch guys, they really, they show out the first day and then they kind of sit out and take it easy the rest of the way. But no, this is not crazy at all. Just like the wide receivers, just like the edge positions, there's not always going to be, alignment at the top. Can we get Reese and Bain or Bailey and Woods? We can definitely get Bailey and Woods. You're probably trading up from 16 if you want Reese and Bain. So like we'll play it out. Maybe you take Reese at 2 and then you trade up to like 7 with the Commanders and you take Bain there. Maybe. But yeah, I think Bailey at 2 and Woods at 16 is definitely on the table. Peter Woods is enjoyed by Buffalo Jet fan apparently. So I'm interested to hear all the thoughts on Peter Woods because I liked what he put on tape in 2024. I haven't watched the 2 Clemson guys, him and TJ Parker yet, but we shall see. Welcome to Something D Mother Effin' T. Absolutely. Coming to you live, breaking news. 300 plus you in the room. Certainly appreciate everybody for tuning in. Hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. We are talking about the breaking news as reported by Aaron Wilson about an hour and a half ago. Jets move on from several assistant coaches, including quarterbacks coach Charles London, defensive line coach Eric Washington, defensive assistants Roosevelt Williams and Alonzo Escalante, linebackers coach Aaron Curry, offensive pass game coordinator Scott Turner, and apparently, allegedly, a reassigned, offensive coach, at least one who was retained by Aaron Glenn. So that is the news that we are breaking down. 6 new assistant coaches needed, 1 new coordinator in the wings, waiting, hopefully, not in the wings, but hopefully soon will be here. Daniel, I hope so. I don't really want Geno. You guys know, like, if I had to pick one quarterback to help either bring Aaron Glenn to the glory of 7 wins or go down in a fiery blazing ship, it's Kyler Murray. For better or worse. I'm with you, Bruno. You don't have to tell me twice. I was a LaFleur truther through and through. I love his brother Matt too. I'm so glad the Packers kept him because they would have been so stupid to let him go. I don't know if it would guarantee Arvell, but we'll definitely learn more about what we think they're going to do in free agency and the draft as soon as these hires happen. So I don't understand why a former DC in Glenn needs a good DC coach. It's that if that's why he got the job. I don't think Aaron Glenn got the job because he made defenses elite, right? Honestly, I don't think that. I think Robert Saleh got the job because he makes defenses elite, and that's what he did. And he was a really bad head coach all around for the team. I think Aaron Glenn got the job because he has a prior relationship with Woody. That's not the first thing. That's just the first thing I'll bring up. But the prior relationship with the organization, the fact that he comes in and feels like he can command a room, right, from everything that we've heard. Those types of things, like the CEO qualities, which don't necessarily make you a good head coach, but I think it was more of that than it was like, oh yeah, his X's and O's on defense is really something that we can't let out of the building. I don't think it was that at all. And that's why I think you need a hire that is going to bring that. So that if Aaron Glenn is going to let that person run their defense, say it's a Jim Leonard, say it's a Durante Jones from the Brian Flores tree, say it's Ephraim Bonda from the Jim Schwartz tree. Like, I would rather Aaron Glenn let those guys run their schemes because I don't know if I trust Glenn's scheme, whatever that is. The real two cruising. No truth to the rumor that Justin Fields is applying for quarterback coach. No. Does Justin Fields have a job this year? Maybe in the NFL as a quarterback, as like a backup somewhere, but man, he might only have 1 year, maybe 2 years left in the league at the rate that he's going. JL was a great Jet. He could be our Vrabel. Well, apparently, the New York Jets let their Mike Vrabel out the door midway through the 2024 season, and now he's the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. The fact that Robert Saleh is getting compared to a Mike Vrabel type just absolutely baffles me. Philip Rivers had 2 more children in the span of him first being mentioned in this chat. Yeah, his wife, man, she was probably pregnant for like 15 years straight. If like all you know, like say you die at 75 and you're pregnant for 15 years of that 75, 20% of your life you were just pregnant. Damn, that's crazy. Good for them, man. They have a lot of kids. I'm glad that that's what they like to do. Yeah, I was right, Grenade. Thank you. Palmer was the one who helped fix Josh. Austin, yeah, I'm sick of hearing Leonard can't be here because we're the Jets. Not going to read the second part of that, but basically, Woody does need to nut up and open the checkbook if he really wants to be serious about making the Jets good. Yeah, he could take over when AG gets the boot. They wanted him to do that in Wisconsin, and then he moved over to, I believe, Illinois. But they wanted him as the coach. The fans and like a lot of people wanted him. I think players too were advocating for him to be the coach full time after he was the interim guy. I don't think Kurt has ever turned this down. Like somebody asked him directly, like if a team contacted you to help, coach up quarterbacks, would you do it? Or like give insight about quarterbacks? And I don't think Kurt necessarily poo-pooed it in his answer. So again, former quarterbacks like that, absolutely, man. Totally down. I'm with you on 50% of this, Mike. I would not hire Ron Rivera as my new DC, and I would hire Pennington as my quarterback coach. Absolutely. On Chad, absolutely not on Riverboat Ron. He's another one like Marvin Lewis. I feel like his time is up. They interviewed him last year for the head coaching job, and I laughed at that news. I thought it was really bad. Clemens for D-line coach. More like Clemens for don't look back because we're shipping you somewhere else. Indy, you love you some Michael Clemens, man. I don't get it. I can put muck boots on and run through the mud just like Michael Clemens does in the trenches. At least he pumps his arms really hard when he's running. I'll give him that. He's trying. He's just not going anywhere. This is possible, Kel. That's what we were speculating. The offensive coach who's going to get reassigned, we don't know who it's going to be. DC, obviously, we know there's going to be a new one. This is why all the coaches are getting cut loose for sure. 320 plus of you guys in the room. Certainly appreciate it. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you're new. Consider some super chats. Not necessarily going to ask for them, but consider them. They will obviously cut the line and we will discuss whatever you guys want to talk about. Haven't heard McCown's name in this cycle. Why did his candidacy cool off? It's funny how that stuff works, right, EF? It's like, yeah, that guy's a really hot name all of a sudden, and then you don't really hear from him, right? Bobby Slowick, kind of the same thing. He was that hot offensive coordinator guy, and then he was fired the next year out of Houston. And then they brought in Nick Haley, and CJ Stroud still looks completely broken. Oh, our guy, Lou B. Appreciate you, Big Lou. $5 super chat. He says, very interesting. AG gets on a plane to Texas and 6 guys gone. Is it possible he went to meet someone? Could he have made his way to Denver or somewhere? Well, supposedly, allegedly, the picture was on a plane boarding in Cabo or coming back from Cabo. I don't know if it was the connecting flight. I would assume not. I would assume it was from like straight out of Cabo. But yeah, I mean, I would just hope that, you know, he's doing whatever he can, even if he has to go international and find his DC. So yeah, I hope so, man. We'll see what happens, but I appreciate you. I think that would be the positive way. Maybe he went to Denver and he tried to coerce Jim himself. He made a pit stop. Absolutely. All right, where did I leave off? Why are we talking about Tua in the chat, guys? I know people wanted me to put David in timeout earlier, and I didn't do it, but I might put the Tua guy in timeout. Who is it? Devin, Tua, or Kyler for me. I'm with you on Kyler. I am out on Tua, man. His record in 45-degree weather, asking him to come here and be the Jets, even a bridge, man. I don't know. I couldn't see it with Tua. I really would I would hate that for the Jets. Even if I wasn't a fan of the Jets, like I feel like Dolphins fans would laugh at that. And that's kind of telling. Asoff, do you think the Jets are looking at Lemon from USC as wide receiver 2? I mean, I would so be cool with this, right? Go take your blue chip edge rusher at number 2, whether it's Bailey, Bain, Reese, and then you're probably going to have to trade up from 16. I don't think it's necessarily likely that Mekhi Lemon makes it to pick 16. Just a lot of wide receiver needy teams at the top of the draft. I really like trading up with the Commanders, actually. They need a lot of work to revamp their team. If you could offer them 16 and 44, the pick point value would say that the Jets should get something in return based on the Rich Hill trade chart. But I would give up 16 and 44. Hold on to 33 because you can still use that to trade down. You pick Bain or Bailey or Reese at 2, and then you pick Mekhi Lemon at 7 or Carnell Tate at 7. Yeah, totally cool with that. And I think the Jets did personally scout USC games, if I remember seeing the tweets correctly, in like October, November. Matthew, you're going to be the first one to go to timeout. Fire Chris Banjo. Get out of here. Get out of here. Infrared. Yeah, exactly. They were smart enough to keep Banjo. Yeah, could you imagine? You can't let Charles London go twice in the same offseason. It's bad enough we let go of Charles London. Now we have to keep special teams Charles London. Those are the rules. Nothing, according to what I've been reading, says that they actually interviewed him, because if they were able to interview him, he would be able to interview with them even if they win. But that's not the case. And if Rob Domofsky's saying he's waiting until he talks to Jim Leonard, I would assume that means he hasn't talked to Jim Leonard yet. We need an offensive consultant. We kind of just need a president of football ops, like a Matt Ryan adjacent. Like we need something like that in New York. I don't think Rick Spielman is it whatsoever. Al Gonzalez, $2 super chat. I appreciate you. Why do you think Joe Brady hasn't gotten a head coaching job? It's tough. I actually think Joe Brady is like pretty qualified to be a head coaching candidate. I thought the Jets, when they interviewed him this past cycle, I had him up on my list. I had him above AG. I had him below like guys like Liam Cohen and Todd Monken and Mike Vrabel. But Joe Brady would have been very cool of a hire. I think that'd be cool. From his stops at, I believe, LSU, Carolina, Buffalo, I feel like you've seen like the progression, and that's what I mean. Like he kind of brings like a wow big name, but you can find like Joe Brady types, like variants of that have very good resumes of like, wow, he worked with this quarterback in 2022 and all of a sudden he moved on, and then this quarterback didn't play well, but at his next stop, a quarterback started playing well under him in his second year. So like there's a lot of things like that, but Joe Brady to me would have been one of my favorite hires at head coach. And I was like all in on Rob Saleh, mainly because he brought in a Mike LaFleur or a Mike McDaniel. I was really intrigued by either one of the Mikes coming in as the offensive guy when I had Saleh on the top of my list. Big fella, $5 super chat. Appreciate you, bro. We no longer have a running back at quarterback coach, which is great. But what the F is Engstrand's role? How the hell can AG stay as head coach? All his guys are gone. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what Engstrand's role is going to be. In the tweet by Aaron Wilson, he said, hearing they will reassign at least one other offensive coach who was retained by AG. So, if that is Engstrand and he's the one that gets, reassigned, then it's obviously a negative on AG. There's no way to spin it. If you lose a DC or you fire your DC and then you have to reassign your offensive coordinator and hire a new one, yeah, you're two strikes, and you're probably closer to a third strike than you are anything else. So my only ask is that you get on base with most of these assistant hires and you have very solid if Engstrand is not going to be OC, you have to have really solid coordinator hires. But yeah, that's definitely a negative if you have to replace both your coordinators after just 1 year. But I appreciate the $5, big fella. All right, where are we at? Yeah, that's what we're talking about, EF. Is he going to be the reassigned coach? AG went to Cabo. He had a couple, days to kick his feet up or whatever the heck he was doing. And he came back, and now he wants to change everything up. So maybe that was part of the self-reflection process that he talked about at the end of the season. Really appreciate everybody for tuning in. Almost at the hour mark, 300 plus you guys in the room across Twitter and YouTube. Probably one of my most concurrent viewers on Twitter specifically, or on YouTube specifically, excuse me. So greatly appreciate everybody for tuning in. Hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. Aiming for 1,500 by the time we end the stream. I believe we were 17 away before. Oh, wow. I don't know how to do math, guys. We were way more than 17 away. We were 57 away. We're at 1462, so we're 38 away now. We can get there. I appreciate everybody for subscribing. We've definitely seen a large uptick in subscribers the past couple weeks since the season ended. It's funny, the regular season ends and like the Jets season really begins and we get to start, diving into this team. It's awesome. It's the only time we can really be positive, and I know it's not easy to be positive, and I'll try to provide some positivity in my analysis, but it's really just like the mock-off seasons and the mock drafts and all those things, the hypothetical trades, not like the Jets trading 4 first-round picks to go up one spot to get Fernando Mendoza, nothing like that, but like the somewhat realistic trades or like the somewhat realistic free agent candidates that we get to talk about. That's the cool part of the offseason. Clancy says most of these guys were Wilkes guys. Timing is a bit odd, but maybe now AG is actually taking things seriously. Yeah, so I think it's interesting that Zach Rosenblatt reported that they were going to let the DC make decisions on the new staff, and then they end up getting rid of 5 defensive coaches. So it is pretty interesting that they said it like that and then are doing it this way without having the DC in place. Or they talked to, some of their DC candidates and they said, hey, we really like you. You're on the top of our list. Are there any immediate changes to our staff? Because they're going to talk about those things. Any immediate changes to the staff that you would make, and see what they had to say. Island Empire. Yeah, you have to take a test to be the Browns head coach. Glick, I appreciate you, coach. I'm just here so I don't get fined. Absolutely. No fines heading your way. Lou B, they're making moves, man. They're doing it. They're doing a thing. They're trying to be a good team. Jets Johnny. I have no idea if that's a real person, but do tell more because no, I have no idea who that is. Daboll will be the Buffalo head coach. I don't hate it. It would make sense. What is my stance on Mitch Trubisky? No for the Jets, and I'll use Kev's line for this one. No, because he's not allowed to play the Jets if he's on the Jets. Mitch Trubisky looks the best against the Jets, and that would eliminate 2/3 of his season-long production if he's not able to play the Jets defense twice a year. Lou B, you want Arizona's pick 34? Like in addition to all of the things we have, or it's like you're trading down to acquire pick 34, I assume? Or are you trading up from 44 to have 33 and 34? Excuse me. The Wind and Tua don't mix either. A lot of things in Tua don't mix. Contact sports is one of them. I truly don't think that man should be playing football. I'm not a doctor. I don't pretend to be one, and I certainly don't play one on TV, but I've suffered concussions in my lifetime. That's why I sit behind a computer and talk about football instead of doing anything more with the sport because I can't play it anymore. My brain got absolutely crushed when I tried to play. And that's my fault. Also my coach's fault, but nonetheless, here we are. We need a past head coach like Raheem to come in for DC. Yeah, so Raheem Morris is the guy I like for the Packers, honestly. And again, that's more just kind of fitting like the let's get AG or let's get Jim Leonard to the Jets. But I think Raheem Morris might be one of those guys who may have told the Jets no. If I'm just like reading the tea leaves, like some of the like higher wanted, like the higher commodities at DC. I feel like Raheem Morris would have been one to tell the Jets no, thanks, but no thanks. So appreciate the $2 super chat, Top Dog. Although he does have a relationship with AG, and that's probably right. That could be another reason why he just was like, hey, respectfully, I don't think I want to take your job. Nothing against you or our relationship, but like it's just not the right one for me. So we'll see. I don't necessarily like it's bummy to hear nobody wants to interview for the Jets or like big names are turning down the Jets, but you really can't expect much less when you're 3-14. All right, trying to catch up with you guys in the chat. Appreciate you, big fella. You're the man. It was great meeting you guys in Tampa back when the season was still alive in week 3, and we got our hearts ripped out after melting like a puddle in that stadium. Matthew Smith, we're going to hire Daboll, and then we're going to hire Wink as DC. And every day they're just going to bring those boxing gloves that AG was using to force out the fumbles at practice that never alluded to like us getting actual fumble recoveries and takeaways. They're going to bring those gloves back out for Daboll and Wink. Mr. Bruno, yeah, this is kind of where I sit, right? I'd rather, instead of double downing on bad coaching hires, like don't run it back, like change things up. Now, if you constantly have to change things up and it's not because guys are getting hired away at promotions, right? Like if Steve Wilkes was so good at his job like Vance Joseph is for the Broncos, he'd be getting head coaching looks, right? And then you can understand why, we need new coaches. But Top Dog with another $2 super chat. I appreciate you. Gary V needs to buy the Jets. Culture would change immediately. You'd have so many new like concepts just on like the environment and the atmosphere around One Jets Drive. Like I feel like it would just be night and day difference. Sir Luca, is that so? 14K for our guy Kev. That's great. I have 1/10 of his subscriber base. Let's go. That's not bad. That's not bad for the first year. I'll take 1465. I'm not a top content creator in the Jet space yet, but we're still new to our own channel. This would be an interesting circumstance because you can make the case, big fella, that Muji should hire some of the coordinators and AG should just have to deal with it. I don't know, though. Like, as Top Dog says, AG is in control over Muj, I think. I still think that it's AG 1, Muj 2. I do think the gap between the two, like, he's not necessarily just his sidekick anymore. Like, they're definitely collaborative thinking on a lot of these processes, but I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how that would play out if AG didn't really have a ton of say in the coordinator hires. Rich, we have concepts of a plan. That's really all we have. Concepts of a plan. But keep holding the rope and maybe we'll find it one day. Cade Klubnik will not attend Senior Bowl, but he is currently participating as far as I know. To my knowledge, he did not withdraw, but he is currently playing in the Shrine Bowl. So he is practicing this week. Let's see the next hire. That's where I'm at, Lou. It might be bad, but can it really be worse than Charles London and Steve Wilkes? Like, I feel like you'd really have to not know what you're looking at in a head coach or in a coordinator. We don't know if we're looking at a guy who knows what he is as a head coach, but if he can't hire coordinators, then we know it's a problem, and we'll know right away. I would turn this trade down, Clancy. I would just keep AG and fire him next year, then have to deal with Shadur. That's just me. Mike Saunders, you just woke up. What happened? All right, we're an hour in, but we will discuss it one more time for you, Mike. Appreciate you tuning in. The Jets have moved on from several assistant coaches, including quarterbacks coach Charles London, defensive line coach Eric Washington, defensive assistants Roosevelt Williams and Alonzo Escalante, linebackers coach Aaron Curry, offensive pass game coordinator Scott Turner, and then they will be potentially allegedly reassigning at least one other offensive coach who was retained. Appreciate you for tuning in, Mike. Rick Kent, my friend, how are you? Glad you can make it. Yeah, I don't think Raheem wants to be here. Indy, I was saying Raheem too, especially after the mic'd up with AG against the Falcons, but I don't know. I don't think he wants to be here, to be completely honest. Big fella, $2 super chat. I appreciate you, man. Coach is not interested in us. Has to irk Woody 100%. Nobody likes to be told no when they have all the money in the world to make people say yes. 100%. What do I think about the Ravens' new coach? I didn't anticipate them hiring a defensive-minded coach, to be completely honest. I thought moving off Harbaugh, they were going to move to an offensive-minded coach. I really thought that Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator for whatever team he's coaching on that I'm blanking on, I thought he was going to be the guy. The Seahawks, Jesus. Clint Kubiak, not Clay Kubiak. I thought he was going to be the guy for Baltimore, but they go defense. They have a history of not firing coaches and like giving them a long leash. So Jesse Minter will have every chance to prove himself. And I guess being that is Baltimore, you could kind of make sense that defensive mind at first, right? They really want to get that defense back going because they feel like they have the offensive side taken care of with Lamar Jackson for now. But I was interested in the hire. I was a little surprised by it as well, but I think he'll be fine. He's a really good coach. Yeah, Indy. Tua and the ground do not go well together. Oil and water, Tua and contact sports. Boy Green, appreciate you, Paul. What's up, man? Wicked Witch of the West is dead. Charles London, don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. That is quite one, Boy Green. I appreciate that one. I've never heard it quite said like that, but yes. Ding dong, the witch is dead. Oh, I appreciate that. I wish I had that when I was 13, 14 years old, getting banged around. They are no joke, though, man. It's quite scary. Having to get like EKGs done of your brain when you're not even in high school yet, it's pretty scary. Is that who that guy is, Jets Johnny? Whoever the hell you said before? I didn't even know how to say his name, and I didn't want to say it thinking that you were trying to troll me with like a fake name. But if that's who that is, I will have to watch. Great name, Ezekiel Masses. I believe he's a corner. He'll be at the Senior Bowl, so I will have definitely more eyes on. I have not done a lot of studies on like day 2 and beyond. I'm really focused in so hard on the first round guys because we have 2, 16, and 33, even 44 to a degree. Like I'm still floating in that top 50 range. I don't think Ezekiel Masses has ever been on anybody's top 50, but amazing name. There's another cornerback that's going to be at the Senior Bowl. Let me look it up real quick. He has a crazy name. I love all the prospect names. Sometimes you don't know if they're real or not. Let's see who it was. I'll have to go to the Senior Bowl official website and get the whole roster because I don't have it written down. But no, I don't know anything about Hezekiah. Lou B, optimist of the year. Everyone, let's just be happy. Never like to see anyone lose their job, but we need to start new. Yeah, we need to start new for sure. It was outdated. The defensive scheme was outdated. We knew Charles London was probably not going to be good from the start. Ephesians Prysock. That is the cornerback's name out of Washington. Ephesians Prysock. Love it. Rich, yes, teams are envious of the Jets in this position with all the assets that we have. Rick Kent, 100%. I think it's guys like this, Jim Schwartz for sure. And it looks like I think he's going to get retained in Cleveland. So it makes sense. Just stay put. You have Myles Garrett, who is, he had more sacks this year, or he had like 4 less sacks this year than the entire Jets team. So Infrared, I see you talking about Taylor Green. He will be at the Senior Bowl. I'll see what he does next week. Not really interested in many of the quarterbacks. Garrett Nussmeier specifically is the guy that I'll be watching, but Jets need their own stadium, 100%. I don't think it would make me want to go to more games, but I would enjoy it more than whatever that HVAC system is at MetLife. Not much, Oscar. How much does my evaluations change of players before and after the combine? So if you know what the guy is going to roughly run, jump, bench, drill, like if you roughly think like talking or like reading some of the analyst stuff and like reading like some of the articles on these prospects, if like a guy's going to run like in the 4.4s or 4.5s, or like if say he's going to run a 4.42 and he runs a 4.38, I don't adjust, right? That's not much for me to adjust on. Now, if all of a sudden he jumps 47 inches, and he's like jumping out of the gym and he wasn't supposed to do that before, and he has like an 11-foot broad jump or, some crazy freakish athletic ability that wasn't necessarily on tape or really talked about, then yeah, you can adjust those things. But for me, I don't really adjust my rankings a ton because all I'm basing it off of is the tape, is what I watched in 2025. So I'm not putting it into like a full interview character, whoever the person is, type of injuries, like all that stuff doesn't really weigh into it. It's important to know. But I will definitely veer away from people after the combine once we get the medicals and things of that nature. But as far as like the testing, you learn in this process, don't count things twice. So if you see a guy's fast on film and then he runs fast, don't like give him an extra plus. Like you knew he was fast. It's not a surprise. So I would say it does change in the terms of like medical, but not in terms of like ability. Hey, what up, Kev? I appreciate you tuning in, bro. Clancy, every coach stinks according to some, especially if that some is in the Jets community. I've never seen, I love Jets fans, but I've never seen them poo-poo good coaches and good quarterbacks and good players quite like it. Like we're on a generational run of poo-pooing good things after coming out of a 3-win season. If Jefferson was reassigned, I'd be a little surprised. I don't know what the hell they're going to do with him other than wide receivers coach. Like, I don't think he would be the pass game coordinator, but that's possible. Joe, I feel bad for you, 68. It is sad what this franchise has become. Hopefully they turn it around. I feel the most for the old heads, right? My mom was born in 1967, so she never really saw the Jets win the Super Bowl. But yeah, I feel for that generation for sure. Hey, Jets World, wide. What up, Snowball? He says, hey, Dylan, do these moves make you think differently about AG? Jeez, I had a really hard time reading that very simple comment. Sorry about that. Think differently? No. Does it still suck watching 60% of the staff get turned over? Yeah, of course. My thoughts on AG aren't really going to like change a ton until the season happens and we see the results of the games, but it's not going to be pretty if the hires are not inspiring. Carlos, $5 super chat. I appreciate you. He says, will the Jets let go of Chris Harris? He should not be running the defense. He will. I don't think he'll be the DC, but I do think I don't know. I want to say it's like 75-25 that he's back. Maybe the new DC comes in and wants to change up the DB's room too, but I think it's interesting that they did keep on all of the DBs and assistant DB coaches from last year. Chris Harris, Dre Bly, Nathaniel Willingham. But we'll see. Appreciate the super chat. Still over 300 of you guys in the room. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you're new. I think Indy was talking shit on me here. But we got Cisco in the house. D, MF, and T. Absolutely. What's up, man? I appreciate you. Gabe Yakis and Luke Goatmeyer. Check them out when you're down there, DT. I will be checking out Goatmeyer for sure. Yakis, he's a tight end, right? I'm saying his name like that on purpose because nobody knows how to say it. And that's what Trevor and Connor call him. So Gabe Yakis it is until we find out the real spelling. And then it'll probably be like literally Jackass. He'd be like, hi, I'm Gabe Jackass, and welcome to Jackass. Jets Johnny, you are throwing out all of the names in this draft. Yeah, Ola Ione. I guess they call him Vega Leone or Ione. He is a wild one. He's going to go pretty high in this draft, right? The guard from Penn State. Whoa, Clancy. All right, man. That is definitely not a real prospect that you're putting out there in the chat. Oscar is I think this is pretty spot on that he's the best interior offensive lineman. Not a ton of like centers at the top of the draft, right? It's a lot of just guards, a couple tackles. Bad year to need offensive linemen, in my opinion. Daniel, I'm gonna say they get one in the first game. I don't know. We don't know who the opponent is, but I'm gonna say it happens in the first game. Don't you hate how these things work out, Oscar? Morris had a better record than Stefanski. He did. Kevin Stefanski didn't want to take the test, and that's why he didn't make it in Cleveland, and now he's in Atlanta. What if Raheem Morris took the test and became the Browns head coach? Infrared, I certainly will be reporting right away about the quarterbacks. I can say right now, surface level, I wouldn't take them at 33 or 44. I think that would be a huge reach, right? I think the only person that I think, in my estimation, from what I've seen of the guys that are going to be down there, and it's not a ton, like maybe like one game of each quarterback so far. I would say the only person I would even consider trading up for is Garrett Nussmeier, and he's the only one I've done a film review on the channel for of the Senior Bowl guys. I watched him his late 2024 season and then early 2025 season before the injuries, before the benchings, before LSU fired Brian Kelly and did the whole thing. So I would say right now, I don't want to I would say it's a huge reach on Taylor Green, but hey, if he can go from a day 3 player to a day 2 player by performing well in this all-star circuit, absolutely. And he's somebody that I've been not warned about, that would be a bad thing, but like somebody put him on my radar very early on in the season. See a couple extra super chats. Carlos became a new member of the channel. I appreciate you, bro. Member of the A1 since day one. Thank you so much. Appreciate the support. Another $5 from Top Dog Coverage. If AG does not pan out in the worst fashion, worst coaching in NYJ history, what does that say about everyone at the 33rd team? Well, they didn't really like kill it for the Commanders in their hiring process either, in my opinion. So I saw that I believe it was Atlanta hired 2 different agencies, like Sportsology and something else, to help with their head coaching search and their GM search. So, and then they obviously hired Matt Ryan as their president of football ops. So, Kev with the $5 super chat. I appreciate you, bro. Here's $5 for a beer in Mobile. I appreciate that. I will definitely go to the Haberdasher and enjoy a beverage with my steak. And he says, hashtag Devin Dampierre, quarterback 1 of the 2028 quarterback class. I don't know if he's eligible next year, but if he's eligible, maybe he's quarterback 1 next year. I appreciate you, Kev. I will certainly enjoy a beverage. Thank you. I don't normally drink, and people who saw me in Tampa will strongly disagree with that, but I don't normally drink. And Mobile is like the time where I literally have like 2 rum and cokes just to try to, gain up the courage to go up to like whoever's in the bar that night. It's usually some crazy people. Like Ian Rappaport walked up to me the last time, not walked up to me, but I was just about to leave the Haberdasher, one of the best restaurants down there for steak, in my opinion. And as I'm walking out, or as I'm like finishing up and about to pay my tab and leave, the 2 kids I was talking to, they come running back in. They're like, oh my God, Ian Rappaport's here. Tom Pelissero's here. And I turn over and it's like those 2 guys. It's a lot of the ESPN guys like Fowler, Bowen, Matt Miller. I think there was another guy from ESPN there as well. And I was like, wow, okay. Well, I guess I picked the right spot to go to, get a steak dinner that night. So sometimes you have to have a couple rum and cokes to talk to those people. Lindsey Rhodes was another one that was in that group of people. And you had a lot of like former GMs that were there, like Idzik was walking around. I think Dimitrov was walking around. A couple other ex GMs down in Mobile. Hell yeah, Infrared. We will be having a ton of content coming from Mobile. Hopefully I can get out of the Carolinas Monday morning. I'm driving all the way down. 8-hour trip in my Chevy Cobalt. Just me and the good old slow ball on the open road, hopefully. And we'll get there Monday night. So we'll do like a little show, maybe Tuesday morning, previewing some of the guys that I'm really excited to watch. I believe it's American team practice and then national team practice. So I'm going to try to put out little YouTube shorts that whole week, just giving you like a 60-second rundown from each practice, because we only have a half hour in between practices. And I know Dom C is going to want to interview some players on the field. So it's going to be tough, trying to coordinate everything, but we will be having some kind of daily content. I know I'll be doing Jake's show pretty much daily, if not daily, I assume. We're not getting snowed in, GM, unless you're saying you're snowed in. Don't put that on me. Don't put that bad juju on me down here, man. I need to get out of the Carolinas Monday morning at the crack of dawn. Comics and Stuff 2.0. I appreciate the $2 super chat. Yo, DT, you think Styles will be there at 16? I don't remember. What is the current draft order? I feel like there's a lot of teams picking ahead of us. Let's see. I think Dallas picks ahead of us. I can see them picking a linebacker. Realistically, I think Sonny Styles' first spot that I could see him going is the Kansas City Chiefs at 9. I could see him going to the Bengals at 10. They need a ton of help on defense. 11 to the Dolphins. I can see Sonny Styles going to the Dolphins with Jeff Hafley. You saw what he just had with Quay Walker and Edge Cooper. Maybe he doesn't necessarily need a first-round talent at linebacker, but yeah, then Dallas at 12. Mel Kiper mocked Sonny Styles to the Cowboys at 12. The Ravens, I can see them going defense now that they just hired Jesse Minter instead of Mekhi Lemon, like this mock says. And then Tampa Bay, if Levante David, if he's the one that retires in Tampa Bay, then maybe they come in with a replacement. So I would say it's unlikely that Styles is here at 16. You'd probably have to trade up for him, in my opinion. Let's see what else we got. Almost at the hour and a half mark. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Obviously, the news of the day, Jets moving on from several assistant head coaches. Quarterbacks coach Charles London, defensive lines coach Eric Washington, defensive assistants Roosevelt Williams and Alonzo Escalante, linebackers coach Aaron Curry, offensive pass game coordinator Scott Turner, and then they are also reassigning, allegedly, one offensive coach that is being retained. Hell yeah, Infrared. I appreciate you, bro. Yeah, I'm so excited. Year 5 at the Senior Bowl. There was a bit of a scare that we weren't going to make it for scheduling and financial reasons. My work has been super slow since Christmas. I work in construction, so a lot of times, like, if you're not working on a house where nobody lives, they just don't, especially down here, they don't want you in their house, like, from Christmas until they get their taxes. It's crazy. It's nuts how these guys work, but January has been slow at the main job. So glad we can make it all work. We're going down to Mobile, year 5. The plane tickets were astronomical to get there, so we are driving as my camera decides to get hacked. There it goes. I want the Broncos QB coach for the Jets QB coach. Yeah, they can't make lateral moves, or they can block lateral moves. So it is pretty they'd have to elevate him to the OC, not just quarterbacks coach. But Davis Webb would be fun. He's done a good job We already got that super chat from Kev. Clancy says, safe travels. I appreciate it, man. Who am I excited to see at the Senior Bowl? Let's see. We'll go position by position. I'll just give you one name from each group. Garrett Nussmeier, the quarterback from LSU. I'll say Jamari Taylor from Virginia. I've seen a lot of things good about him at the running back position, but I have no knowledge of what he is as a prospect. So I've heard good things, and I'm excited to see what it looks like. Wide receivers, I'm really interested in Barian Brown from LSU. He transferred in from Kentucky. Deion Burks from Oklahoma. I loved watching him in Mateer. Casey Concepcion from Texas A&M. Surratt, if he plays, from Indiana. I'm interested in him as well. Tanner Kozel, the tight end from Houston. I'm interested in him. Offensive line, I think we talked about him earlier on this show, maybe a previous show. Emmanuel Pregnon from Oregon, I'm interested in. Keelan Rutledge from Georgia Tech, I'm interested in. I don't think Jennings Dunker is on the Jets' radar, but I would like to see what he can do as well. A lot of people are excited about him. Let's see. Defensive side of the ball, Caleb Banks is somebody Dom C really talks about highly out of Florida, the D tackle. Dominique Orange, big citrus. I want to see him out of Iowa State as well. Defensive lineman, Akeem Mesidor, LT Overton, Zion Young, obviously David Bailey, Romello Height, his teammate, TJ Parker, a lot of good edge rushers. Whoever brought up Yakis, I said he was a tight end. He's an edge rusher. That's my bad. Completely blanked on that one. Linebackers, Jacob Rodriguez from Texas Tech. I'm excited about him. Cornerbacks, our guy Ricky New York told me to look at Julian Neal from Arkansas. I also want to look at Jalen Kilgore from South Carolina. Obviously, I'll be looking at Hezekiah Masses and Ephesians Prysock, just on name alone. Safeties, I'm looking at AJ Halsey and Emmanuel McNeil Warren from Toledo. I'm excited about. I saw one clip of him cracking a wide receiver over the middle. He separated man from ball so easily. It was actually really cool to see. And I don't really care about the kickers, but Drew Stevens from Iowa, we'll see. I'm sure we need some kind of kicker, as Bruno asks about kicker. Yeah, I think Drew Stevens from Iowa would be the only one. I don't ever want a BYU prospect again after Zach Wilson and all the Utah Zach truthers that came out. I don't think we should look at punters or long snappers, in my opinion. So, Indy, you said something up here that I starred. What was it? Oh, yeah, I'm excited to be roomies with Jets Chaos. I will not. There has been a personnel change to the Airbnb. It's going to be me, Dom C, and Jake Asman in the Airbnb. Appreciate you, Asaf. You're the man. Dude, Cisco, let me sling it. Let me sling it. You got me for one hit. And if the hit is above my chest line, I am probably dying on the field Tua style. I will go fencing posture. But I will give it all I have until I sustain that first hit. I will give it all I have for the Jets, I promise. Mr. Bruno, he slept on the same side of the Airbnb. There was 2 bedrooms on the one side and then my bedroom off the kitchen and laundry room. So I took the room that was away from Jeremy and Dom. So I'm sure he does. I'm sure he snores, but I did not hear it. Yeah, totally. That would be me. Hopefully I can lead a touchdown drive before I sustain the hit. Yeah, royalty in Mobile for sure. I'm excited to have Jake down his first year. My 5th year, Dom's 4th year. So combined 10 years of experience in Mobile. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I know there's a couple other Jets content creators. I know Richie from Jets Media goes down. So I always look forward to Senior Bowl. Comics and Stuff 2.0. What do I think about the safety from Oregon? That is Dylan Thieneman, right? If I'm saying his name probably incorrectly. One, he spells his name the complete wrong way, so you got to bump him down in your rankings. He doesn't have the elite spelling of Dylan. But no, if you drafted a Dylan T, I'd be cool with it. I think he's actually a really good prospect. Probably a day 2 guy, right? Like maybe like a 3rd round pick, high 3rd round pick. That's probably the range for him. Haven't done work on the safety class outside of like the top guys, like Downs. I think Downs and Halsey are the 2 guys I watched the most. But then you also have like Kamari Ramsey, who's going to be at the Senior Bowl. So Thieneman should be, I would say, easily a top 75 pick in my estimation. But I do like the prospects of having a Dylan T in the Jets class. If I see Ulbrich, I'll ask him for you, Cisco. I'll say who's the prospect. It's got to be a quarterback though, because it's got to actually be like something. Like what if Atlanta? Because Atlanta doesn't have a 1st round pick. What if they called like Ty Simpson or something? And they're like, we're gonna take you here with our 1st round pick, and then they just don't have a 1st round pick. Jets Johnny, top 50 easy for Dylan T. All right, yeah, that's cool. Top 50 is what? 17 picks into the 2nd round. So we'd probably have to be like safety 3 or 4 on the board. I can see that. I can see that for sure. All right, hour 36. About 300 of you guys still in the room. I appreciate it. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you're new. We are going to wrap it up on that. If you have any last-minute questions, get them in now. If not, we're going to call it a night. Almost 9:15. Work comes early when you get up at 5:30. Ugh, not fun. Ooh, big fella. Do we keep Brees? I think so. I think the fact that they didn't deal him at the trade deadline, they could have taken the 4th round pick from Kansas City, right? You don't want to open up a need necessarily by getting rid of a Brees. If you like the comp pick formula and you think they're not going to be big spenders, maybe they can let Brees walk, get a big contract, and take a 4th or a 5th round pick next year. But I think they're going to spend too much to negate that comp pick formula. So for that, I say they keep Brees and they try to make it work for one more year. But now that you don't have the rookie quarterback in the mix, like that was the whole allure of it, right? Was to keep Brees Hall for the rookie quarterback and really help him. It can still work with the veteran, obviously, but we'll see. I would say yes, though, leaning yes on January 23rd. Indy, I appreciate you, bro. Cisco, I appreciate you. Don't eat Admin's nasty chicken from Cane's. Yeah, I did call it raging Cane's yesterday, and he got kind of mad at me. So I'm not like, I mean, I like chicken fingers and fries, but like if that's what you're known for, like I'm cool. I'll go somewhere else and get chicken fingers and fries. Oh, ISU, I appreciate it. I had to turn the notifications off on Discord because I would literally wake up and there would be like 700 notifications on my Discord, and I'm in too many of them, so I had to turn it off. But I appreciate you. I'm going with Yakis, but I'll read it and see what you said, and I'll adjust accordingly. If I like the way you say it, then I'll say it the way you say it. Whether you're right or I'm right, I don't care. Big fella, hell no. No more Brady Cook tank. We're done with that. We're done with all of that. No more Keedron Smith. No more of that. We're Bailey Zappi now. We have upgraded slightly to Bailey Zappi. So the Bailey Zappi tank will be fantastic. No, we're gonna get a whole new quarterback room, and I'll be excited. All right, last one from Infrared. I love AVT, but something tells me to draft a premium guard to replace him and save 10 to 15 mil. I'm cool with paying him $10 million and drafting a premium guard for high-end insurance. That's where I'm at. Don't half-ass the offensive line. Make sure you fully make sure it's great for whoever the quarterback is. No, ISU, I was busting you. I know that you're telling me that is the way to say it. I just like that the way that Connor and Trevor can't say it, and they keep changing it like every time they discuss him. It's like a bit on their show almost, but I will listen and I will properly adjust the way I say it. All right, last one. Texas toast is fire. Absolutely true. We're going to end it on a good take. Appreciate you guys, everybody, for tuning in. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you're new. DT signing out. Breaking news on a Friday night. Happy I could be here with all you guys to talk about it. We will be back at some point this weekend discussing more draft scenarios, Senior Bowl scenarios. I have a video about something Connor Hughes and Zach Rosenblatt mentioned that we will talk about this weekend on the next episode of the Dylan Terman Football Show. Appreciate everybody for tuning in.